and welcome to Council's August meeting. Do I have any apologies from Councillor Ward? Councillor Goldsworthy.
And apologies from me from 11 o'clock for a funeral.
Sorry, you've got a... Sorry. Oh, no trouble. Sorry to hear that. All right, any other apologies? With that, we'll note those apologies for the meeting and move those formally. So moved by Councillor Fulton, seconded by Councillor Doody. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. We have acknowledgements. Firstly, any conflicts of interest? We come to acknowledgements, and there's two that I would like to especially acknowledge. And unfortunately, within local government, there's been a number of passings over people who have passed over the last month. Some known well to us, some not so known so well. But I think of the former mayor of Taupo, and yesterday there was the chief executive of Hastings that was acknowledged. So very sad. But locally, I've received a phone call on Friday from Elsa McCabe to advise that Rangiora resident now Rob McCabe passed away last week. Rob, for those who remember Rob, was county clerk of Kaiapoi, or town clerk, pardon me, of Kaiapoi Borough Council, but he'd served in the council for a very long time. And then went over to the Chathams in a similar role and served there for a number of years. To those of us who knew Rob well, and I knew him very well, he used to come in to see me often to give me his views on politics, which were really interesting. He was a very astute individual and someone I had a lot of time for. So I just want to acknowledge his passing. His children, or sons, have gone on to give service in the fire brigade here locally, and Elsa remains here in the town. She was saying to me the other day, while it wasn't a kind passing for him, in the end it was a blessing because he'd been suffering cancer for some period of time. However, she said, with a character like Rob, she said it's the home is very lonely, and I can imagine that. So our thoughts to Elsa and family. And also served as a Waitaki councillor, but a number of us knew him through zone roles, but also his role as a number of things, as a comedian, MC, those sort of things. And if anyone had anything to do with Jim Hopkins, you really did know him. I remember once being in Oxford for a function, and Brent Firkin was the gentleman who was running the show was about. Well, Jim decided to take a fancy to Brent's last name, and it was Firkin this and Firkin that, and it went on for all night. I think Brent certainly was sick of it by the end, but the rest of us saw the humour of it. But in terms of local government, Jim's someone that we've all got to know over many years, and his passing is something that is appropriate for us to acknowledge here. So for both Rob McCabe and Jim Hopkins, I ask us to stand and observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Yes. Just next to you then, Wendy.
Can I please ask that we acknowledge the 2-inch eels, one that's been over to the Commonwealth Games.
Yes.
Also Grace Brooker, or she was
yes.
Grace Inch, that's been in the New Zealand rugby and Canterbury rugby.
That's very appropriate. So we'll duly acknowledge there, and if I get some details, I'll happily send a letter on behalf of the council who can follow that up to acknowledge their success. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Right, any other, sorry, before I move on, is there any other acknowledgements? All right, so we come to the confirmation of minutes. They're there in our agenda, and then is someone prepared to move? Move, Deputy Mayor, seconded, Councillor Mealings. Is there anything you'd like to add? I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Any matters arising from the minutes? So we come now to deputations and presentations. The first item is 5.1, cats affecting the Ashley River wildlife. So we've got Mr Davey and Judith Huey, if you'd like to come forward. You joining Judith? You're most welcome to have a seat at the table there. Thank you. Thanks, Grant. So give you up to 10 minutes there. And if you'd like to leave a little bit of room for questions there, that would be great. So there's a microphone in front of you. I think this is not your first rodeo, so you probably understand how to use that. So thank you and welcome to our meeting.
Yeah, we intend to rocket through this. There's quite a bit to show, and thanks for allowing us to present on this, which is a pretty important thing to us. So I'm going to talk about the evidence that cats are a problem, and Judith is going to say what we think should be done about it. And I'd like to introduce one other person from the group who's going to stand up and wave. That's Emily Vium, who's our ranger, who's been with us for almost a year. I think you know the work, so I can skip through that one. And the birds we look after, we're most concerned about the black-fronted tern. They've had a very bad time with cats recently. They're the most endangered bird of these ones on the river. Only 15% fledgling per nest ratio last year, and a lot to do with cats. They nest in a very vulnerable way on bare gravel out in the river. Any predators can get them so easily. Evidence of depredation by cats. This particular cat, 2 seasons ago, took out an entire black-fronted tern colony just out from the airfield. Killed one adult that I was aware of, ate lots of eggs, and caused mass abandonment. That's the colony. Orange dots are nests. Yellow stars are nests which are abandoned because of the cat roaming around. Green crosses are a bit hard to see, but they're where eggs were eaten. And red dots are rival nests. So the entire black-fronted tern colony taken out by one cat. This is our precious Ryebill BWBW, who was nesting on the river for 15 years. That's what happened to his nest with that same cat. Came over the bank, he got away and ate the eggs. We caught that cat the next night after all the damage had been done. Another example, further up the river at the Hutu Junction, cats either side of the river. The cat on the south side cleaned up everything on the south side there. One on the north side did a lot of damage and was only there for a short period. Also caught that cat on the south side after all the damage had been done. And that season, putting all the reasons for failure of these nests together, cats are putting together the predation of eggs and abandonment. Cats were the worst thing that there was out there. So all of this sort of thing, you add bird flu to it, you add climate change, it's not a pretty picture. This is Emily's work from a colony last year. The end result of that is that there are 127 black-billed gull fledglings from 344, 37%, 40 black-fronted tern nests, and ended up with only 8 fledglings. And we strongly suspect that cats were the problem there. A lot of those nests hatched, but chicks later disappeared, and cats are the most likely culprit. These are some of the cats there. That top left is a cat coming out of a black-billed gull colony with a black-billed gull egg in its mouth. It got caught the night after that, and one by one, 4 half-grown kittens came out and got caught too. After a lot of damage was done, and that other cat was caught in a black-fronted tern colony, very close to black-billed gull colony. The monitoring of cats, has been a fair bit of that done. This is the same area which was in that previous slide and extended a bit. Study done by Landcare, trying to work out how many cats and what the cat density was. Those red crosses are where they had trail cameras. They saw 73 cat visits, 3.9 visits per 100 camera nights, 13 individual cats, and a population density they've calculated to be more than 4 times the density of study areas on a couple of other braided rivers. But at a similar time and a bit later, I was doing something similar. The yellow and green stars show where I had trail cameras, and the pink stars around them show where I saw cats. They had 3.9 cat visits per 100 camera nights. I had 18. It's not entirely the same thing we were doing, but I'm sure the area they were in, there was fewer cats than there was upstream. Just look at that lower graph there to the left. I think you've all got this information you can look at later, but far more cat visits than rats, far more than stoats or weasels, a few more than hedgehogs, and what they're eating is mice. There's a massive number of cats out there. So that's not cats, it's cat visits. I think there's more than 30 individual cats, which is still more than the individual rats that were out there. This is astonishing as far as I'm concerned. These are some of the cats, and sorry, I only know the names of 2 of them because they're my neighbour's cats. So the question is, are they companion cats, feral cats, or stray? And you can't really tell the difference unless they've got a collar, and we see very, very few with collars. And my impression is the great majority are stray cats, either cats which have run away from home, or been mistreated and run away from home or whatever, or cats which have been dumped. There's definitely some companion cats and probably some real feral cats. Same thing down at the estuary, big cat problem. This is probably a bit confronting, but this is the record of cats that we've killed along the river since 2004. We don't deliberately catch cats close to habitation, but some small cats can get in our DOC 200 traps. If you want to catch a big hedgehog, you've got to have a entry hole big enough to do that, and a kitten can get in. So this is all on ECAN-owned land, and they are aware and behind what we do. Summaries and conclusions, I'll just pick a couple of those from there. The cats are extremely difficult to catch. Landcare is trying to move on to a study where they deter cats by sound, because you can't catch them all. But a major step forward will be getting a cat bylaw underway, which Judith is going to talk about.
Thanks, Mark.
I think everybody here is probably very aware of what we want.
Judith, could you just pull the microphone a bit closer?
Sorry.
Thank you, that's great.
Okay. The reason ARG is here because we want desexing of cats, microchipping and registering. What I wanted to do is just quickly go through the survey we sent out for the local body candidates at the last elections. I don't know if I sent you the results, but it was fairly significant that we had a lot of people in favour of the bylaw, but we had some perhaps misconceptions about what it would bring and what it couldn't do. So look, there's 3 major opinions from the candidates we canvassed, and one was that we leave it alone and wait for national legislation, which means the Wellington government, or we lobby the government to bring some national legislation in. You will be aware that it's an ad hoc system now. We've got about 15 councils have got some sort of bylaw in reaction to this current coalition government, saying that the petition that was, and the select committee discussions that recommended a bylaw, an act and legislation for cat control wasn't their priority. So councils have gone ahead and done their own thing, and that's what we want here. We can't wait any longer, and it's not about us, it's about the inhabitants of the river, which is right by the township, and that's one of our problems. We are near where cats live. The other one was that it'd be too hard to get compliance to a bylaw, which I agree, but look, I looked at my IRD the other day and they said that this tax system's based on the integrity of New Zealanders, and that's what we want. So it's education, public relations, which we'll do and we've been doing for a long time. The national media has covered cat control and cat predation for the last few years. It's there. We'll get a lot of compliance, and with the difficult ones, as one candidate, local body candidate said, Selwyn told everybody, if you don't register and microchip your cat, someone may catch that cat and it will be disposed of because they don't know who owns it. If you're an owner and your cat comes back from a group, maybe like ours or someone else, and says your cat was in a trap, it educates them to do something, perhaps keep their cat inside, which would be great. The other one that candidates brought up was we just need to educate. Well, we've been educated for something like 26 years, and so are a lot of other people. So it's time to take practical steps, and this is a good tool, a bylaw, to get cat numbers down. That's basically what will happen over a very long time. If we don't do this, the birds are in a delicate state. Extinction's going to happen for lots more species, and we don't need to let that happen. The other thing is it's going to be very expensive for cat owners. Well, a little bit of expense, but dog owners have an expense, and vets have come in other districts and helped out a bit and discounted for the start of the bylaw. So we may be able to get something like that. So just to summarise up, the cat is the #1 predator on the river. We must obviously have domestic cats coming to the river. It's so close to the township, so we desperately need something. Do we have any questions or time
Thank
for
you.
any
Yes,
questions?
just a couple quick questions. Firstly, look, as a result of what you've submitted on today, we will call for a report, and that will look into the options of what other councils have done and the enforceability of bylaws. So they'll, assuming there'd be agreement here, I'll just seek that shortly, but that's something we would do as a consequence. Attending one of your AGMs, cats were certainly acknowledged there, but so was the owl. I'd just be interested to know where you've got to in the work that Emily's been doing in that space.
Yeah, the little owl was something we found was a problem last season. We'd never seen it before, and it took one rival nest, and probably that bird BWBW, and then Emily found that it destroyed an entire black-fronted tern colony. So as far as we know for certain, it hasn't happened before. I've got a theory that in one place it did, and it might not happen again. But it could, anything can happen. It could turn into a much more major problem this coming year. What we've done, we're getting a PhD student to be working on the river fairly soon, and she'll probably be, part of her job will probably be looking into that. And her supervisor has had a couple of audio recorders out on the river trying to see where they are. But yeah, we're really much up in the air with them. Because what we saw was the first time that anybody had seen a braided river bird affected by a little legitimate owl, and the first time that anyone had seen endangered New Zealand birds attacked by that owl.
Okay, thank you. Questions of colleagues? Is there, Councillor Cairns?
Thank you for your presentation. In terms of, there's obviously a nesting period, or when the birds are actually in danger. Is there a way that we can actually request that residents keep their cats inside for that particular period, or is it just there's an unknown about how many feral cats are out there versus domestic cats? In terms of education, you know, keep your cats inside during this nesting period.
Well, it could be emphasised more strongly in that period, but I don't think that alone is going to work. And yeah, we don't know how many are domestic companion cats and how many are stray, and it's my strong impression that the majority are stray. We've actually autopsied a few a few cats with stomachs full of mice that they're actually able to be making a living out there at the moment. If we've had a bit of a bust in ship rat numbers. If the mice, there seems to be mice boom. If they bust, the birds are going to even more. The cats are going to even more go out on the river.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think if is a just indication. Sorry, Councillor Goldsworthy.
So just a quick question, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. It appears that there has been a very long history of advocacy to central government. Do you have any indication as to their hesitancy behind bringing in a cat control legislation framework?
What was the word? What kind of literature did you say?
Oh, so we've got the Dog Control Act. Do you know the hesitancy from the central government perspective of bringing in a cat control act?
No, I think it's probably political. I can't understand why it isn't. I've just been to Australia. There's cat control signs everywhere. Each state has laws against it. They're very concerned about their native animals. Yes, this government did say it was not a priority, and it's not. We just have to keep pressuring.
Nikki, Councillor Mealings.
Forgive me, less of a question than a comment, but this is really timely because at our recent Biodiversity Champions meeting, we talked about this, and there are approximately, or just under 20, I think, councils that do have bylaws similar to what you're talking about, with Ashburton looking at the moment, and Auckland's just adopted one. You know, it is topical and it is gaining steam, but it's not without its challenges, but just wanted to thank you for your work.
Thanks, Nikki. Well, I think unless there's a strong disagreement, I think we'll call for a report which can look into those options and the effectiveness of bylaws, and also get a bit of a statement of where things are at a national level. We'll do our homework on that, and then probably come back for a workshop at some stage on the findings, which may well lead to a council report. So we'll keep you in touch with where we get to on that. But thank you for drawing this to our attention. But also, I also want to acknowledge the huge work that you all put in down there. It's very valued. We had some young people from Fernside School here come recently, speaking very passionately about their petition about some findings down there and supporting the work that you're doing. So the next generation are well and truly informed. It's what we can practically do, and the other bits that I'd like to look at. I'm not opposed to a bylaw, I just want to see that it's practical and we can actually do something there. So thank you very much for your presentation today. We look forward to continuing our discussion, and we'll keep you in touch with where we get to.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Next I have is Mr. Kerr. I understand you'd like to speak, Mr. Kerr, is that correct? Thank you. Good morning.
Handout here, someone might hand them out to the council, please.
And this relates to an item on our report, on our agenda for decision today, which is the matter which you raised, I think, at last month's meeting, the 7.5 request to plan stop. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
This is just in my response to that.
All right, up to 10 minutes, Mr. Kerr, and I propose that we'll take your item thereafter that's on the agenda if you'd like to listen to that. So we'll bring that forward, providing we've got the relevant staff here for that. Yes, we do. Yes, I see Jess and Matt there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you once again for allowing me to speak at this deputation. We've only been given sort of 2 days' notice to prepare for this, but I've given a detailed response in the handout. As you can see in the report, we have some sincere concerns about the rationale of this decision made under Section 80W of the Resource Management Act. Our intention is to continue to engage with Council in good faith through the private plan change process if this route is the only legitimate avenue for us now. However, we are in need of absolute clarity about this process and to understand the application will be viewed according to the situation which we find ourselves in today. Based on the wider development around the Southbrook area, the acquisition of land by the Council from our property is part of this. After 5 years of consultation, we feel we deserve some transparency on the situation moving forward. We ask Council to clarify whether the Southbrook plan referred to in paragraph 3.12 is the same initiative we were previously told had been shelved or a separate later initiative. If it was the same initiative, why was it represented to us as shelved when the report now describes it as active and progressing? Whether 15 Townsend Road will be considered part of that plan, given this was the exact pathway we were originally directed towards before we were told it had stopped. Insufficient evidence. 3.2 and 3.14 of the report both note that our proposal had insufficient evidence to proceed. However, no guidance was given with regards to the requirements here. Please make clear what additional evidence is required. Proposed next steps. 1. The Council do not adopt the recommendation. B. The Council decline the exemption request on the basis of the report as currently framed, given it tests only one of the 3 limbs under section 80W and does so against an activity we have not proposed. 2. Direct staff to specifically assess our position against unintended consequences and inefficient outcome limbs of section 80W, using evidence already held by the Council, the noise overlay map. Council provide clarification that our application for a private plan change would be fairly considered and not rejected in the light of the substance of the request having been made in the last 2 years. Council confirmed that a private plan change application with respect to the impending resource management reform will be viewed independently of this. Provide written information as to the full set of documentation and evidence required for a private plan change. We would appreciate a response to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kerr. Can I just, have you read the council report relating to your item that's on today's agenda?
Yes, I have, yes.
So you'll note in there the Southbrook plan 3.12 does indicate the process which is being followed with that. So no, it hasn't been shelved. It's just a question of timing. So
yeah, I understand that. And also it states that initially we were had the wrong information that there would be no rezoning under that plan.
Well, it's not a plan that, well, I'll get staff to respond to that shortly, but it's non-statutory. So yeah. It's a plan for how Southbrook, the intention was, and I was one that called for it along with other councillors, was to, Southbrook is growing substantially, especially around their industrial commercial area down there. It was to gain an understanding of what the needs and requirements would be for that area, and to also understand landowner aspirations. So it was to get that together and then work out where it sits within our district plan and what other future needs might be. And if we haven't adequately considered those, what other responses there might be at a later stage. But it's not to give effect necessarily, but it's to certainly collate all that as a plan that then could be further used as a reference point for later, but it doesn't have a statutory process in that regard. But staff can explain that a little further later.
Yep, understand that.
All right. Any further questions of Mr. Kerr? Councillor McLaren?
Thank you. At your previous deputation on 7th July, I asked if your neighbours shared your views and you replied you hadn't talked to them. Has that changed since then?
No, it hasn't, but we have had previous discussions, you know, as I said before, but everyone is concerned about what is happening there, you know what I mean? That because of the change, all the changes around us, you know what I mean? It has become, as we said, not suitable for livestock. It is not a lifestyle property anymore. And we're on the corner section, so we have the traffic on both sides. And the property opposite us is zoned commercial, you know what I mean? So it's in a they're in a totally different proposition. But you know what I mean, we're living with this problem day to day.
Any further questions? Councillor Fulton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your deputation. Are you arguing financial loss? I mean, because of the changing land use, the inability to run livestock and the zoning implications, etc.
I don't, look, we do, it's such a small
Have you put
property,
anything to that?
We don't make our living out of livestock. I used to be a farmer, and you know, you can't really, it's not suitable for livestock for that. And we did sort of try to sell the property, and basically we were told by the real estate agents that it really wasn't a lifestyle property anymore. Its future lay in a commercial property. That's where they saw the future of the property. No one would buy it for a lifestyle property.
At the last meeting, I seem to recall that part of the reasons why you were requesting that was owing to some advice around the district plan review, or one of the processes that you hadn't, the advice that you received perhaps wasn't as sound as it could have been in terms of submitting to processes. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, Mr. Gordon. I had bad advice and for several reasons, and I hadn't been through this process before, so I didn't really know what to expect. I just took other people's advice. You know what I mean? And we have made mistakes, which you wouldn't do. Yeah, sure.
No, that's good to understand. Just to be clear about that.
Yeah,
all right.
we would have appealed when we were turned down in the district plan review. We would have gone, the Environment Court. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm sure because you had Mr. Shorter here at the last meeting, so I'm sure you've sought advice about that and what options you had, and this is the path he recommended you come down, is it?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yep. Right. It's fine. All right. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. And
Thank you.
as I say, we'll take that at 7.5 now, so you can hear the discussion and our staff's view on that. So please resume your seat at the back, and we will
Thank you.
make a decision on this matter shortly. Thank you. As I said, we'll now take item 7.5, which is the request for a planned stop exemption, 15 Townsend Road. So, Mr. Bacon and Jessica Manhire, thank you very much. Are you going to speak, Mash?
Jess going to speak, so just give a very brief sort of overview, and happy to take any questions.
Cool. So we recommended declining the request to prepare and lodge a planned stop application. Unfortunately, we were unable to place it within the exemption criteria of the RMA for planned stop. We considered there to be insufficient information to lodge an application. For example, the planned stop requires planned stop application requires to explain why it meets critical local needs and the risks and impacts if not granted. Just in regards to the Southbrook strategy, unfortunately that cannot rezone the land. And also in response to the 3 limbs, which Mr. Kerr mentioned, the unintended consequences are unworkable or lead to inefficient outcomes. We acknowledge that he's provided a noise overlay map. Unfortunately, that is not a statement about the noise effects. That basically says just that internal noise levels need to be met for noise sensitive activities due to the distance from arterial roads, and not that this site is unsuitable from a noise perspective. Keeping livestock is not a noise sensitive activity. And The rezoning was looked at during the district plan review, and it concluded to be there to be an absence of evidence in regards to traffic and servicing natural hazards and potential impacts on rural lifestyle zoned land. In regards to timeframes for plan changes, as the rezoning request was subject to a decision on the district plan review, council can choose to reject it until the 24th of June 2027, which is 2 years from the date of the district plan review decision. However, a select committee recommendation on the new planning system is that no new private plan change request can be lodged or processed during the transition period unless an exemption is obtained from the minister. And the transition period is expected to go from about October this year for about 4 years. So therefore, a private plan change request would also be subject to an exemption application to the minister from about October this year. And the planning bill sets out that after December next year, order may be made for RMA instruments, including plan changes, to cease to apply, which effectively would replace the plan stop. And government's intention is to halt plan changes with the transition to the new system, which is why, in our view, any council-initiated plan change would need to be necessary and have sufficient evidence to support such an application. If council is of the mind to do so, we can assess the merits of a plan change for a section 32 analysis. Anything else we should mention?
No, so just to pick up those last points, Jess has given an update on some of the changes in the proposed planning bill. So obviously that's in Parliament today for its second reading, so just a note, still not in law yet, but that's the select committee report and wasn't captured.
Yeah, I think the intent, so the government has given a clear direction that plan changes shall be halted except for exceptional circumstances. So in our view, any plan stop exemption would have to have a high level of information to support it, and it would need to be critical.
Anything further?
Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just to liken those comments about what's happening in central government, what is your assessment, perhaps, Matt, if I direct this to you? Does a legislative change or a Section 32 review, that sort of mechanism, does it have more legal safety than trying to advance what looks like a zoning change through a plan? The Southbrook plan does not have any statutory authority, whereas other mechanisms might.
Yes, so yeah, just to clarify, the Southbrook plan is a non-statutory plan, so it will set high-level directions, but it will not, it won't extend to zoning land. That has to be through an RMA process.
Yes, but I'm really asking about the actual, I suppose you'd say, the wisdom or the legal safety of trying to advance something here today through a Southbrook, through a plan, through a
It would have to be
statutory authority.
Yeah, I suppose it really comes down to the outcome that Mr Kerr is seeking won't be an outcome that the Southbrook plan can give him in terms of specific zoning.
If he's wanting to rezone the land, that has to be done through the district plan, which would be through a plan change. So it could either be through a council-initiated plan change, where we'd have to apply for an exemption to plan stop, or through a private plan change, and he's able to lodge that to the council, and then at that point in time, council would make a decision whether that would be rejected. Yeah, so those are the two options in terms of updating the zoning.
Any further questions? I've got Deputy Mayor followed by Councillor Keys.
Thank you. From reading Mr Schultz's synopsis, he indicated that there is a pathway for a private plan change, in his view. Is that a realistic option for Mr Kerr?
So private plan change process does exist. As Jess had talked through, there are some changes coming to that plan change process. but it is certainly an option to progress. There are private plan changes being processed by other councils at this point in time. A lot of those are already through the notification process. I'm not aware of any that are being worked on or lodged.
So currently there's no barrier for Mr Kerr to proceed with a private plan change himself?
Correct.
When the transition period for the new planning legislation kicks in, that will mean that you'd have to apply for an exemption also for private plan changes, but that transition period isn't expected to start until about October this year at this stage, unless it's brought forwards.
Right, so there's a window of opportunity now for Mr Kerr should he wish to take it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Cairns.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Jess and Matt. In terms of the Section 32 analysis, does that come at the cost to Mr Kerr, and how long is that process? So as I can understand in terms of, you've got the moratorium until the June 2027. So yeah, how long does that analysis take, please?
So normally, if it was a council plan change, it's our initiated plan change, we would do that Section 32 evaluation. If it's a private plan change application, we would expect that to be with the application, so it would be on the person that made the application to do it. In terms of how long do they take to do, it really depends on the scale of the plan change. If we were drafting a Section 32 evaluation to the degree that we think we would be needing for a rezoning request, we're probably looking at 6 months of drafting time, which takes into account a lot of the resource that we would have to find to do it, if you like.
Thank you. Councillor Goldsworthy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just for clarification on the process, were Mr Kerr to pursue a private plan change, so it's lodged at the council, and then from that step, who is the person evaluating, and ultimately who would, if the council decided to support the private plan change under the moratorium, who would be the ultimate decision maker at the end of that process on the evaluation of the application?
Sure. So for a private plan change process, what normally happens in that process is it would be lodged with council staff would have a look at that in terms of the completeness or otherwise. Let's assume nothing happens with the planning bill for the next bit of the answer to the question. Once that had been done, that would come to council for a decision. Council can do 4 or 5 things. Realistically 4 things. One is adopt that plan change and process it as its own. The second one is just continue with it being a private plan change process. The third one is that it could call it in to the Environment Court. And the fourth one is we could suggest that it be done as a resource consent. So there are some options that need to be considered in that. So what we would do is put a report to council with those options, and you'd make a decision on where to go. Obviously, to look back around, the probable outcome is that there'll be some changes to that. So when we bring the report, we'll have to let you know what the current legislation is. And following that decision, it then follows through the notification and submissions and further submissions and hearings.
Thank you.
Okay, further questions? We have in a series of recommendations in 7.5. Is there a mover? I'll move then. Seconded by the Mayor. Look, I'm reluctant to move in the circumstances, hearing what Mr. Kerr has already said, but there are limitations here for the council, and they've already been well articulated and put together in a report. And while I have some sympathy for the situation that Mr. Kerr is in, there was a pathway that was available under district plan consideration that wasn't followed, and that would have been the right path to have followed in those circumstances. In order to put forward a plan stop exemption, as has been mentioned, it would require exceptional circumstances in order to meet that test. And we're aware through a range of planning matters, just that we've been involved with, just the reluctance of ministers and that to get involved unless there is that test met. So in that respect, I'm not favourably disposed to that. So there really is, the only other option is to look at a private plan change, which Mr. Kerr said he was open to considering. It would be inappropriate for us to discuss the appropriateness or not of that because it's got a process of its own to follow, but noting that we're in the middle of we're in the final stages of our district plan, going through the parts at the moment where there is consideration being given, but it's operative in a large part now, and also the fact that there's been introduced legislation, and we're told that there will be that will be complete prior to the election. So there's likely to be a different planning framework as a result of that. And private plan changes, there is a moratorium on those, as has been indicated, and I'm not an expert in that space. So anyone that's listening, please don't quote me on it, because I'm really not the expert in that space at all. And you'll need to seek, and individuals like Mr. Kerr will need to seek his own advice on that, and the advice of our council staff, which are there to provide independent advice, as they always do, based on the best information we've got available to us. The Southbrook plan, that was a process that we as a council have requested, and do want to see it completed. Southbrook's a very important part, particularly the commercial aspect and the industrial growth that's occurred down there, so to understand where future growth will go and how we manage and plan for that. That's the purpose of that consultation work that we've done. We've done some initial with some landowners. It's intended to do some further, and then it will have a broader consultation, as has been indicated in the report. And it is my intent personally. I want to see that completed because it's, as I said, it's an important part of our district, given the level of growth that's occurring down there and how we best manage it. It's not dissimilar to the work we've just done across the road, where Rangiora Toyota and other parts are over there, where we were getting a number of requests from landowners around what they might be able to do in and around the car park that we operate and other landowners do, and what was appropriate in consideration there. Well, we didn't have a plan, well, a current plan, we'd had one done in the past, to overlay that and to see what our landowners' intentions were. So any future decisions we've made would be to reference that against that, so we had a benchmark. So that's a similar basis of whether a plan will come about, and if there's any further protection or plan change work, or district plan change, whatever it's called in the future, that's where that would go. And so that's its intent, and also to help understand better where the landowners down there would like to go and how we can, where we can give effect to that. So, as I say, it's a reluctant decision to decline, but for the reasons outlined, I don't see the council has another option. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Probably to echo some of your comments, I certainly do have some sympathy for Mr. and Mrs. Kerr. They did lodge a submission with the district plan. The commissioner in that case, or the commissioners, did not accept the submission, and unfortunately Mr. and Mrs. Kerr did not lodge an appeal to that process. It is difficult. The plan stop exemption requested provides for a council-initiated plan change, and given that we've just in the process of completing the district plan review, that sort of seems not appropriate in my view. The grounds for meeting the threshold for the plan stop exemption in staff's view have not been met either for the plan stop. I would have been unhappy if that was the outcome, because I think there should be a pathway for people to move forward with their proposals. And in this case, I'm satisfied that there is a pathway through a private plan change, which the Kerrs could embark upon, noting, and that's confirmed by staff, depending what happens in Parliament perhaps today, that there is a window of opportunity for that private plan change before October this year. And to my mind, I would suggest that perhaps the Kerrs and their legal advisor may like to consider that option. So whilst I have some reluctance, to the, some sympathy for the position that the Kerrs find themselves in, I am satisfied that they still do have a pathway to explore and exhaust, and I'm not commenting on the merits of their proposal, just that they have a way forward to have it considered. So on that basis, I'll be supporting the recommendation.
Thank you. Any further comments? I've nothing further to respond to in right of reply because it's been said, so I'm going to put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary? Declare that carried. Thank you, team. All right, we'll now come back to item 6, which is 6.1, the Pegasus Residents Association MOU. Hopefully these matters have been resolved since our last meeting, so I believe they have. Anything you wish to update on?
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report was deferred at the last meeting, and staff went away and had further discussions about the proposed fees and charges. And in July last month, we had a meeting with the steering group, and we've made some amendments to the fees and charges. I'd just like to note in the report there's a typo, so apologies for that. So the changes we've come up with is the small meeting room is reduced from $18.50, this is the community rate, $18.50 to $13.80, and that's in line with the charges at the small meeting at the current Pegasus Community Centre. But the small function room remains at $18.50, not $13.80 as is listed in point F in section 2 of the report. So the other significant change was for the commercial rate for the full day hire, which the last report had it at $6.25, which was in line with the West Ayrton Community Centre, which has weddings and other functions. So that's the proposal, is to increase that to $2,000, and any cleaning for these functions would be on top of that. So happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Councillor Ken's followed by Councillor McLaren.
Just to clarify, Ken, you've just mentioned with regard to the $350 full facility clean is over and above the hireage.
Correct.
Is that, so the $2,000 that you're recommending in the report for the full day exclusive use, does that include the $350 or is that over and above the $350?
No, the cleaning is an addition. There will be an additional
so
charge.
Still the addition to the $2,000.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
And potentially it could be 2 cleans. It could be a before and after clean,
Yep.
which we would assess.
Cool, thank you.
Right, Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Ken, for putting in all this effort, the to-ing and froing. I wonder if the table that's used in the recommendation, if it's going to be used in the future, can just be a little bit clearer, because the 2 columns indicate an hourly rate, dollars per hour, whereas the last 2 lines, the whole facility private functions, it gets a little bit misleading that the final one is for exclusive use, 4-day exclusive use, but I understand that hourly use would also be exclusive use of the full facility, and that the last line is actually a flat fee as opposed to an hourly rate. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what we came up with following discussions with the steering group is that anything 6 hours and above becomes exclusive use of full day hire, and anything below that threshold is an hourly rate. But I'm not sure, does that give exclusive? I don't think it does.
Yeah, but I think take your comments on board. What we could have actually done is split that out into two tables, so it was quite clear, because we do have the whole facility private function there. So in the future we can split them out into two and make that quite clear.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, the hourly rate for the whole facility, you hire the whole facility, but you don't have exclusive use of it? Is that what you're saying?
They can do that up to 6 hours.
Right.
But that would indicate that you're booking everything across that 6 hours for that period of time. So that can compound up to, I think it's around about over $600 for that exclusive use.
And the last line, the full day exclusive use, that's a flat fee as opposed to an hourly rate?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Redmond.
Thank you for the report. Just inquiring about the matters Councillor McLaren has mentioned. Firstly, the full day exclusive use for the community is $290.70 plus cleaning?
Correct.
Right. The hourly rate for the whole facility is $54.50. When you look at the components of that, it far exceeds that price. I guess there is a discount for the whole facility. How did you sort of come up with the figure of $54.50 for that area on an hourly basis for the community one? And the same principles apply, no doubt, to the commercial.
Yeah. So those figures are consistent with other council facilities, in particular the Oxford Town Hall, which has the same fee structure for whole of facility hires. So we're trying to get some consistency across other council facilities.
Right. Secondly, I understand the rationale for the $2,000 commercial fee, full day exclusive use. How does that compare with other facilities in the district and outside the district?
So just in comparison with council facilities, the other, as I mentioned earlier, West Ayrton Community Hall has hosts weddings, and the fee there is $625, and that was what was presented at the last meeting. However, it was acknowledged that with Pegasus Community Centre, we're offering a much higher standard in terms of a facility. So, and yeah, so that's basically why we come up, and consultation with the steering group come up with that figure of 2,000.
That's also acknowledging the premium of it, but compared to other wedding venues of a similar, I guess, setup, what we were seeing is that was ranging from about 1,500 up to about 2,500, and that's what we presented to the steering group as well. So it was taking that into account that it's a relatively middle ground as far as the market rate goes.
Thank you.
And just noting that we did, it was the basis of the main part of the questions was that, and whether that fee was right, and that's what we sent staff back to check and to also check in with the steering group, and that's where you've landed here. Thank you. Speaking of which, the chair of the steering panel is here, Councillor Powell. You had a question? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, she's sorry, was chair of it. I'm sorry, pardon me. Councillor Powell first, who's a member of the steering panel. Yes.
No, right.
Don't you pop along? Yeah. Oh, right. Oh. I thought you were there. Well, you take an active role in this anyway.
Yes,
which is
a
excellent.
rather active role, yes. Thanks for the report and the changes. I still have a little concern around the wedding type functions, and I note that in the recommendation that a commercial rate is considered to be primarily for business purposes and the generation of financial return, and that a community rate is considered to be primarily to deliver social, cultural, educational, recreational, environmental or well-being benefits to the community rather than private financial gain. So if somebody books the centre for a wedding, and they book it personally, they're not going necessarily through a wedding planner, that's not for financial gain. So
No, that's why we did add all private interests to that definition there. We can be stronger in that if required from the council. That's just the wording that we have proposed to you.
And also with the booking form that hirers have to fill out, we'll be able to, we triage those and we can identify if as you say, if a hirer books it for a wedding and request the community rate, well then we'll go back to them and say, no, you're not eligible for the community rate. It would be the
it's just
commercial
whether
rate.
it should be clearer up front rather than actually getting to that point where you've got to untangle it and
Yeah, we can add some descriptions around that on the actual booking form. So before a booking is confirmed, we receive the booking form and triage it, and part of that acceptance process also is confirming their health and safety plan as well before the booking's accepted.
Thank you. Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just firstly, thank you for their consideration, the relativity to other centres as well, which came up in the last meeting. I'm interested in just our definition of when we start charging for full day exclusive use. West Eaton, for instance, I know that almost always the day before is inaccessible. You know, certainly from afternoons, perhaps the next part of the next day as well. I've got a younger brother who once spent about a good 2 days, I think, at West Eaton Hall after his 21st. But well, that's another story. So that's the question. When does the charge? Oh, there was a fire extinguisher or something. I can't quite recall the details, but yeah.
I'd stop saying anymore.
When does the charging start? Oh no, I've just been waiting for that opportunity for a long time. Yeah, for the exclusive charges, do they start on the day of hire or beforehand? Don't want to make life difficult.
There will be. For a wedding, for example, they will need to have some time in the day before to set up. So the amount of time that they need to set up will be part of the conversation we have with them around the booking, but the $2,000 covers that. That's included.
I would say within reason, if they're actually excluding other users, then they'll be having to pay for the previous day under the charge that's relevant.
I did wonder, we had the last meeting time, I think it was Councillor Ward talked about the real cost of a wedding and what's realistic, but also were you to consider higher charges, does that feed into the income that could be derived for the upkeep of the hall, say West Eaton Hall or other facilities? Are we paying our way, and could these facilities benefit from higher charges if they're too low?
That's a big question.
Because West Eaton's largely run on a volunteer basis.
Yeah.
And so what's the sustainability?
Yeah, look, we've tried to follow the commercial model that most other wedding venues are actually putting in place, which is why we found that middle ground with the steering group. In terms of revenue generation, that's not really the focus of the facilities. Certainly for this one, I guess that higher fee is really kind of demonstrating the premium that people are getting. Plus it is also returning some revenue back to council for what could potentially become quite an attractive venue for both forums, small conferences and private functions such as weddings as well. So it's taken that into account. In terms of our operational costs for just having the building sitting there unused, it would definitely be revenue against that. In terms of other bookers, yes, it would definitely be revenue compared with a group that might use it once during the middle of the day, especially a community group. It's a substantial increase in what we would normally get for the use of a community facility. But we wanted to make it that way so that, you know, if people are going to be displacing others by having a private function, that there is something coming back into the community for that.
Councillor Mealings.
Thank you. Actually, Councillor Fulton, I was just wondering, was that your brother's thing at the West Ayrton Hall, which brought in the bond management system that they privately manage in the
You don't
community.
need to answer that question.
Sorry, that
Moving
wasn't my
on,
question though, I'm
Councillor
sorry. It did,
I
it
think
just
that might
did
come into
raise
public
the
excluded.
question. Because I understand that we can't do that for the Pegasus Community Centre because there are limitations with our booking systems. But just in the option 3, and you're talking about tiered pricing model for the premium spaces, and you know, whether or not, you know, because they've got higher quality audio visual capabilities and all that sort of thing, as to whether or not we would want to have a higher price for that. I see the reasoning here that could create a financial barrier for community groups and whatnot, you know, depending on, I guess, what their use is. If they want to have an aerobics class or something, they don't really care if there's AV equipment in there, but I'm just a little bit confused. It said that in the report that could be deferred for a year, at which time the demand and usage patterns were better understood. What are we deferring? Are we not charging until, or charging for the higher quality space until such time as we've established the usage pattern, or the other way around? Just wanted some clarification.
Yeah, so part of this is trying to understand, is it actually going to be utilised for this particular thing? Because first and foremost, it's been designed as a community facility. So a lot of the AV tech that's actually in there, anybody can go and use. We actually have no way of knowing if somebody has or hasn't used it. So it does present some challenges in trying to, I guess, single that out for an exclusive day use, which is why that fee is also set the way that it is, because it takes into account the fact that actually you're going to get all of these benefits on top of that. You get exclusive use of the toilets, you get exclusive use of the kitchen and the foyer area, car parking as well, but also you're getting access to all of the AV and the tech that's in the room as well. In terms of, I guess, looking at deferring that into the future, it's really understanding, well, what does that market look like? We're assuming that we're probably not going to get a lot of wedding bookings this season, purely because people are kind of looking at about a year, maybe 18 months out. So it gives us time to assess some of that and actually come back to council and go, this is what we found, and here's maybe what a fee structure should look like. So it's kind of a way of us trying to get ourselves a little bit of room to come back to council and say, here's what we've actually learned from the building being in operation. Okay.
Is there a wear and tear on the, say, the AV equipment, and is there perhaps maybe an avenue that to separate it out by, okay, here's the access code for the whatever in this room?
That would be additional administration, and we would have to look at a way that we could actually make that work on the equipment itself. But the intention was, with setting it up as a community facility, to have that available for people to generally use. It's actually the same as Woodend and a lot of our other centres as well.
I certainly, yeah, I understand us wanting to activate it, so yes. Thank you. I just really didn't understand our thinking around here, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Doody?
That's okay, thank you. It's all been asked.
Councillor Redmond, yes. And I'll come to Councillor King.
Thank you. Could you just clarify with the booking, if a community group, for instance, books the centre for an hour on, say, a Saturday, and you have a commercial user wanting exclusive hire of the venue on that day, is it first in, first served, or how do you work the system?
So our online booking system is first in, first served, and so, that's how it works. But also too, with our bookings, we monitor our regular bookers, and you can book a facility up for Pegasus. You can book it up for 12 months in advance, and if some users are getting to the end of their 12 months and they haven't extended their booking, then we contact them and just give them a reminder, because otherwise they can potentially lose that. But also we have the ability to override those bookings to look after regular users. But I guess getting back to your question, it is first in, first served. So if there was a whole facility booking, then there wouldn't be possible to take another one.
Ken's team also do reach out to bookers. If somebody was to come forward and say we wanted a full day booking, they do go and talk with regular bookers, because we do get that now. For example, the elections at the end of the year, If they wanted to book one of our venues, we would have to displace all of our current bookers. So there is that ability to talk with people and see if they're willing. But we don't have a hierarchy outside of the first in, first served.
Councillor Keynes, look, we're getting into a whole range of questions here. Can I just ask before, is there a comfort with what is proposed here and the fees and charges? Yeah. Right, okay. Right, I'll allow a couple of more questions and then we'll get into the debate. Councillor Keynes?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's just a small point, but in B, it actually talks about Pegasus Residents Association. Should that not be changed to Pegasus Residents Group Incorporated, which is the entity that we're having the MOU with? So just a minor change.
Yeah.
It's actually, it actually mentions the residents group in a number of different places, but not the right title.
That's correct. It's PRGI piece. Yeah. Okay. Well, that can be updated in the recommendation. Yep. Councillor McLaren and Councillor Doody there to follow.
Just a quick question just about the booking 12 months in advance. I understand from other facilities this creates a problem for groups that have an event every year at the same week or weekend or day every year, that they can't book that in advance and that they risk losing it. And that there is a
So that, I think that question relates to the regular users at the auditorium in the Rangiora Town Hall.
For example.
Yeah, like the North Canterbury Music Society, and so what we've done to accommodate that, we've extended the bookable time to 18 months. And then also too, if that doesn't assist, if they still have a performance that's going over that time, then we can block it out for them so they don't lose it. And
relating it specifically to this wonderful facility is.
But for Pegasus, we and all our other facilities, we kind of feel 12 months out is sufficient. But again, if there's a particular program or an event that's going to go over that time, then we'd have a conversation with the user and we can block it out so they don't lose it. And then when it's available, we'd give them make contact and say, right, now you can go on and book it so they don't lose it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Doody?
Thank you. My question is, and when it comes to perhaps bereavement and someone wants to use that facility, can it override the bookings there as a courtesy?
I guess in theory, well, technically no, because first in, first served, but we can assess the situation, and if there was, I don't know, maybe one or two bookings on that, we could have a conversation with them to see if they would happy to relinquish that booking. And not so much with bereavements, but we've done that for other bookings, as Grant mentioned, around the upcoming elections. We've had conversations with users to see if they're happy to give up that booking. Okay. So we potentially can accommodate that.
All right. Happy to move. I've already got a mover indicated, so Councillor Powell, you're going to second. You can squabble it out later. So, Councillor Powell, are you changing B to the PRGI rather than Pegasus Residents?
Yeah, and switching the figures in the table for the small meeting room, if the community uses the small meeting room and the small function room.
Okay. Is the seconder happy with that? Thank you. Councillor Powell.
As someone with a long involvement in this project, including being the previous chair of the steering group, I'm pleased to see we're at this point of actually deciding the fees and the memorandum of understanding and everything like that. So, it's with real pleasure that I do support this motion, and it is we're on a bit of a learning curve here because we really just don't know what the level of bookings will be like for this facility for certain things. So I think this does buy us some time while we figure that out, and so I will be supporting this motion.
Okay. Councillor Kearns.
As the new chair for the steering group, I'm happy to support this recommendation. But more importantly, I'd just like to acknowledge Pegasus Residents Group in terms of their involvement in this wonderful facility that is almost near completion. And thank you to staff for actually ensuring that they are still locally involved and supporting this facility in terms of the memorandum of understanding. It's been fairly robust in terms of the discussion or the questions about the fees. If you were to look at the private or the commercial venue hire places out there for wedding, they range from between $2,000 and $6,000 per day. And effectively, I think it will be quite a test for us. We didn't want to undercut them. So at $625 previously, it was probably way too low, particularly when you consider the $350 cleaning fee, which is over and above. But yeah, $625 was just way too low for a premium facility like the Pegasus Community Centre. And yes, thank you for all of the work that the staff have done, bringing it back to us, and the work that you've done with the steering group in terms of getting consideration from them as to the right fees and the MOUs, so thank you for that. But I ask that the other councillors support this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Redmond.
Thank you. I'd just like to congratulate the staff and the steering group, whoever the chair may be, on the work they've done over the years. But I would just like to say the name of this facility is the Pegasus Community Centre, with emphasis on the word community. And it reminds me of local government, which sometimes central government overlooks the word local. But I think in this case, the key to this facility is it's a community facility. The figures are really arbitrary, whatever it is. I mean, how do you know if it's $18.15 or $18.20? It's all a wee bit arbitrary, but it is a payment because the building was not insignificant in terms of costs. So I'm quite comfortable that with the level of payments, I can understand the rationale for the full day exclusive use. And for any colleagues wanting to book a wedding hire, you need to get in early. It's first in, first served. Councillor Fulton. So anyhow, look, I'm very pleased to approve this, so we move on. I look forward to the building's completion, but I would emphasise that it is a community centre, and at the end of the day, we want the facility used, well used. If you have a problem with too many bookings, then that's a win. We want it used, not to sit there empty. So well done for all involved, and I'll be supporting the recommendations.
I'm going to support the recommendations as well. It's been an exhaustive process, this fees discussion, but I do want to acknowledge the staff work in this, but also the work of PRGI and the steering committee, well chaired by Councillor Kearns. I think the thing about this facility is it's been a long time coming, and we're really really looking forward to it, as is our community. The fees and charges, I think Deputy Mayor's right. You know, at the end of the day, they are what they are, and we will get to a point where we see whether that's a barrier or not. And if they are becoming a barrier, I'd like to know, particularly so that we can look at reviewing that, because we don't want to find that that becomes an unnecessary side of using this facility well. It shouldn't at those level of fees, and we have a fee waiver committee for consideration for community-related groups where that is adequately considered. The other, as I heard Ish say at the public meeting at Woodend, that there's to be a user group discussion. So that's where that feedback will start to come through, whether there are any things that we haven't necessarily heard. Hopefully the work we've done to date has elicited the sort of information that we need, but you never know in that space, and that's to Councillor McLaren's point around future and forward bookings, to make sure that it's meeting the needs that are there. So that fees and charges, I'm sure will come up with the users there, so look forward to that feedback. But really looking forward to seeing it open, hopefully sometime in October-ish, is that right? We're looking at sometime in there, late September. And someone who was very involved in the land and other things I met with the other day, was very excited to see where we've got to, and also complimentary that the council had embarked on using a good design in achieving, what really will be, I think, a real asset to our community. I'm pleased that we've put all the effort into making sure that the AV and all those things will be right when we open it and not deficient, but absolutely where we need it to be so that it can be well used by the community and also the commercial users. I would like to see us host the citizenship ceremonies down there. Actually, there's a lot of people that come from Pegasus as we're swearing in new citizens, so that space, I think, will become very well used, and especially right out there on the lake because it's beautiful. So thank you everyone for the work that's gone into it, and if it needs reviewing, we can review the fees, but appreciate the work that's gone into getting us to this point. Councillor Meanings.
Thank you. The fact that this paper is in front of us is exciting because it is proof that a long desired community facility that has been long wanted and talked about for at least the 7 years that I've sat around this table, and probably much longer, is just about here. And I look forward to hearing about the dance classes, the community cuppas, the language classes, the book clubs, the weddings, the birthdays, the whatever else happens in here. But this is the document that makes it all possible from the get-go. And I'm really excited to see what happens next. Congratulations to everybody who helped us get this far. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Right, reply.
Just very quickly, this is a community facility, as Deputy Mayor Redmond pointed out. This was a project that was actually driven by the community, well and truly from the very beginning. And the people involved in that should be very proud of the work that they did. And I certainly say thank you to them. And yes, it is a facility for the community, and it will be well used by the community.
All right, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Thank you, everyone. Right, we come to 6.2, which is the adoption of the parking and traffic bylaw. Gina, on behalf of the hearing panel, and Councillor Cairns, you chaired that panel, is that correct? So may well be some feedback you might like to give before we come to any questions. So I know we sent that back to the hearing panel after our last meeting, and a range of questions that were being asked. So Gina, if you can update us where they got to, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report is bringing back the parking and traffic bylaw from the last council meeting. As requested by council, staff have since re-engaged with the hearing panel regarding the matters raised at the meeting. The responses to the matters, along with the resulting amendments, are summarised in the report before you, and also detailed in the track change version of the bylaw, which are supported by the hearing panel. The amendments and clarifications are clarifications only and do not alter the purpose, scope or effect of the bylaw. Therefore, staff recommend the council adopt the parking and traffic bylaw, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Oh, sorry, you've completed. Any other points from team? No, Councillor Cairns, did you wish to
just
any remarks?
Just very briefly. Firstly, thank you, Gina, and the team for putting all this together, and thank you to the councillors for asking to come back to the hearing panel to then come back to council for today. Firstly, Gina, unlike a situation where we have in Kaiapoi and Rangiora where we actually have compliance team going out and issuing tickets to vehicles that are parked in no parking areas or in time parking areas, just to make sure for everybody, clarity for everybody, that's not going to be the case where somebody's going to be parking on a verge in a rural area or in an urban area. They're not going to get a ticket, are they? They're not going to be issued a ticket. Is that how I understand it?
We won't be patrolling any area outside of the townships. If we get a complaint, we have to investigate a complaint. Then that goes through our process, which is education first. If we can find the person, we ask them to move on. If they're parking in an illegal place, if they don't move on, they may get issued a ticket depending on the situation. If they do get issued a ticket, there is a formal process for them to appeal that ticket, which will be looked at in context of the process.
Sorry, Billy, so just clarify the ticket situation. So if it's out in a rural area and say a Hoka market situation, would you be patrolling that area and issuing tickets, and what sort of price of tickets would there be anyway under this bylaw?
No, we won't be patrolling the area, to clarify. If we get a complaint about parking, we'll go and investigate. If we find illegal parking, we'll do our best to correct it through our process of education. If we can't correct it and we find that's an issue that we have to stick to our consistency, there may be a ticket issue depending on the situation, and those tickets would be in context of the regulation prescribed funds.
Under the bylaw. Thank you.
And what would the fine amount be?
Off the top of my head, I can't.
Because just give you just signal here. Look, I will support this today, but I have a great reluctance around process as long as it's being followed and not becoming a punitive exercise, but more education. If we're getting into the realm of issuing of tickets left, right, and centre outside of where it is, then personally I'd want to see it reviewed. So I'd like to keep us informed, because that's the part. I don't want to find that we get out Kendall Park, Kaiapoi Park, Rangiora AMP, where we have regular events and people parking there, to find that we're issuing tickets left, right, and centre and annoying the public. I accept that there are some where we get complaints we need to go and follow up, but education first. I'd have a great deal of problem if it's going beyond there. That's where I'd just like to perhaps get a reality check to come back and keep us informed. It's not to rewrite the bylaw completely. If that's the intent and what you're saying is it's education first, then I'm comfortable with that. But if it gets beyond that, that's where I have, because we're going to be the ones that get the majority of the complaints, because the public think that we haven't put adequate parking in place in some instances, and that's what's driving them to park on the verges in the first place. So.
I suppose to clarify that point, we don't get many complaints regardless of the parking on verges, round events, etc. Very rarely do we get one. And if we do, generally the event's over before we would even be there. So our approach is definitely aligned with what you're thinking.
Thank you. All right, any further questions? Councillor Bartle, then followed by the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Billy, just for clarification though, the rural areas, outside the urban areas, it is not an offence to park on a grass verge?
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. So the offence theoretically is covered under the urban areas, but the drivers, as the Mayor's just covered, is education first, and only if there's a real problem that you follow it up. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Following on from the contentious topic of rural grass verges, where in clause 6.1 does it say I can park on a rural grass verge? And an example might be Island Road. When I go and watch my grandson play soccer, I invariably park on a grass verge. I see that you've deleted what could have been a permissive provision, and in 6.1D it says you won't park on rural verges except where permitted under this clause. Well, where under that clause does it permit it? Is my question.
Can I respond?
Can we just let staff respond first, unless, would you like Brent to?
That's one of the battles that we had, Deputy Mayor, in terms of if you read the explanatory note, it says, in rural areas, parking on verges is generally permitted, whereas the actual heading to section 6 says no parking on certain parts of the road. So that's where we had the conflict, and hence the reason why the staff recommended that the explanatory note go at the top of that heading as opposed to at the bottom. So as it made it clear that parking in rural areas on verges is permitted.
Without getting into a debate, an explanatory note has no effect in the bylaw. It's for information only, I would have thought.
What we aim to achieve with moving the explanatory note is to show that our intent is not to punish those who are joining community events or parking in areas as part of our, Saturday football routine. I know Roding are working with the local schools and communities and areas where do have issues with parking on verges. All I can tell you is that our intent is to try and protect our assets from those who are intentionally trying to damage them. We're not looking for parents that are attending these events, but I know Roding are working with different groups and communities and sports groups to actually come up with resolutions around the issues of parking at our community halls and sports events and etc. So we wouldn't be penalising those. It's more for those causing the intentional damage that we're hoping to prevent.
Well, just coming back to my question, where does it state in that clause that I can park on a rural verge?
So if you read the explanatory note, it gives you the intent of the clause. So it asks people not to stop, stand, park a vehicle on, and then it's got the lists separating out urban and rural. So you are able to park on rural verges.
Where was the deletion taken out from that was in the ND?
It's on page 76. The deletion, I thought, may clarify 6.1D.
Perhaps we could just have a little pause for a moment while staff confer.
You reckon remove that?
Look, it's morning tea time anyway, so why don't we break for 10 minutes and
Really appreciate that.
we
Yeah,
can come back.
that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
You can go out and build a snowman in the interim, yeah. All right, we're just... think we've got a way forward, is that correct?
Yes, thank you very much for the time to have a brief discussion around next steps. My recommendation is to remove D.
Remove what, sorry?
To remove D, so 6.1D, just to remove it.
And if there was damage caused to verges, B would cover that in any event. That's my reading of that.
Correct, so B covers any verges and would protect them from damage or posing a safety risk.
Okay.
Good solution.
Well done. Okay. Any further questions?
Happy to move.
You're happy to move with the adjustment to D of 6.1D. A seconder, Councillor Bartle. Do you wish to speak, Councillor Kent?
Albeit briefly, I think that the hearing panel, firstly, thank you to Councillor Bartle, Goldsworthy and McLaren for being part of the hearing panel, and also thank you to the 48 residents that actually took part in the submission process, and thank you very much to the staff that actually have worked long and hard on this. I think everybody has an opinion with regard to where they can park or not park, but I think that the whole idea of the bylaw is to ensure we protect our infrastructure and keep people safe when it comes to parking. And I like the common sense solution with regard to section 6, which effectively says that yes, you can park on rural verges so long as it's not a safety issue or an issue where you're causing damage. So again, thank you very much for all of the work that's been done, particularly Gina. A lot of work, so thank you for the work that you've done there, and I ask that the colleagues support the recommendation. Thank you.
Seconder, Councillor Bartle.
No, nothing further.
Councillor McLaren.
Thank you. Just briefly, I just want to acknowledge the amount of work that's gone into this, and do want to draw colleagues' attention to page 99 on diligent, where we've helpfully provided the compliance framework. This is a really good document, consistent with international practices, and clearly explains the approach that's taken where there are breaches of any bylaw or any other legislation that we enforce here. And it does start very much at that willing compliance stage, the education, and it's only in the most extreme cases that higher forms of punitive action is taken. And also, I do hope that our colleagues across the Waimakariri and Christchurch City Council, as they make their decision today on Head Start, understand the issues such as rural grass verges and what they might be adopting depending on their decisions.
Not sure they are, actually, Councillor McLaren, but that's a very important point. Can I say that I support this, and especially with the removal of D, given that point is clarified in point B, and appreciate the free legal advice that we've had here today from the Deputy Mayor. It does come down to plain reading of things at times, and that's why my points at the start were very much along that line. I'm not opposed to us having things in place, but it's just when it comes to a plain reading, it doesn't make it easy for Billy's team when they're out there trying to give effect to a bylaw that we've been through a process on. I do like the education first aspect, but just noting that on a number of our reserves that are highly used in rural areas, that it does make that, could have made that more challenging. So I appreciate the work that the team have put into it, and I think we landed where we needed to in that space. So I'll be supporting this. All right, any further speakers? Right, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, just to clarify matters, I will be voting in favour of the recommendation with the deletion of 6.1D. And I'd endorse your comments that perhaps I've heard the word Waimakariri way used, and that the education first approach is one that we adopt. And hopefully that will continue to be the case north of the Waimakariri River, Councillor McLaren, when we perhaps remain on our own, but wait and see what happens in that space. So I'll be supporting the recommendation.
Okay, right of reply.
Thank you.
I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, declare that carried. Thank you, team. Murphy Park is the request for reallocation of budget. Isabel and Duncan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So today I'm presenting a report to seek approval for the reallocation of budget to allow the completion of stage 2 for Murphy Park. A note that both options 1 and 2 presented today, the reallocation is proposed to come from the Ringiora Airfield Water and Wastewater Project that is forecasted to come significantly under budget. As that comes within the same activity code, there's no impact on rates by this transfer. One further note is that the engineer's estimate that we have today, because we haven't gone out for tender, it may come in under that, and that there is a 30% uplift in that estimate in terms of items currently affected by fuel. So I'll take the rest of the report as read and open up to any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Cairns.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Ish and Duncan. I went back through the Community Board minutes with regard to this coming forward, and I recall at the time Deputy Mayor Atkinson raised the issue with regard to upgrading of the car park of the Bulldogs, and I note that that's been excluded from this report. Is this going to be dealt with at some other stage in terms of your discussions with the Bulldogs with regard to upgrading their facilities or their car parking facilities, please?
So currently, you're correct, that's been left out of scope, and obviously the reason is that those discussions have been ongoing, and with their building, we're not sure what they're building, if they're building, and what they may look like, so there was no point in renewing that area of works because of that. So we haven't allocated any money towards that in future, but there is, that will come up for renewal in our renewals program at some point in the future. I'm not sure when that is, and at which case that area may be renewed at that point. Yeah.
And the Bulldogs are happy with this upgrades that they're doing, because my perception, if I was sitting in the Bulldogs camp, I'd be going, you're providing this parking facilities and upgrades for other users, but excluding them, and so you're keeping them informed that yes, we'll potentially upgrade your parking facilities when they're ready. Is that right?
So we've had multiple discussions in the background with Northern Bulldogs, and presented them the concept plan over a number of years. So they're aware that this part of the project is kept very separate from those discussions. I'm aware that a report is coming to council, I believe, next month in terms of Northern Bulldogs and the future state and some future plans that may be. But we have had that discussion with them around the concept plan. They to my understanding, they have that understanding that these are two very separate items.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that.
All right. Any further questions, Councillor Fulton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question, and it's really something that comes up in a lot of our reports, is the language that we used. The phrase recreation cost centre for 545. I mean, it's sort of alluded to in the notes, but I don't think anyone would really actually, reading this, would actually have a blind clue what's being talked about cost centres and codes. And is there any way, Mr. Mayor, that that we can actually just take heed of this, because I think it's very inaccessible, kind of the way that you've couched the recommendations in here. And using that sort of language. I know what you've explained it's within a cost centre, but who would understand that? So, yeah, just with respect,
sure,
be mindful of that.
Yeah. The reason that we do include that, just for your reference, is so that when this report then gets sent to finance, they're aware of where that money needs to be transferred from and to. I'm not sure if we can change that in terms of process.
No, I'm not asking so
but
much for an
yeah.
amendment, but I suppose it's just,
Sure.
yeah, we've all,
Yeah.
as elected members, we've got to explain things back to the public. We don't understand them.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Are you proposing a wording change there, or are you?
Really just a request for actually just to be aware of it and appropriate in our notes and our presentation. So, yeah, how would, Mr. Mayor, how would we go about that? Would we have a bracket after recreation costs the end of 545? Would we explain to the public and take heed of your question that what is precisely the coding? Because the whole mechanism is about that the finances are retained within the code, but it's not clear to me in the report. So,
I'm just trying to work out how we give effect to that.
yes. Well, I suppose it could be given effect in a bracket and as an amendment, I suppose. After that, say 545, say the instrument used, for the for budgeting and funding allocation purposes.
Yeah,
like
we
that.
can look at ways to reword it for future,
just
so
so
that
it's
it
clear.
makes it so people
Okay,
like the public.
I'm happy just to take, if staff can take heed of that suggestion, if that's right, please, rather than amendment here.
All right, any further questions? All right, someone prepared to?
Just a question, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the report. My ears started burning when I read about transferring funds from the Rangiora airfield, as Duncan will appreciate. Can you just confirm how this work was going to be funded if that other funding was not available? How originally were you intending to fund it?
So initially for this project, it actually is funded from 4 different budgets at the moment, some of which have been, at least one of those budgets is actually an earthquake recovery code that's been there for quite some time. And I think it's set out in section 6 of the report. There's a table, section 7 of the report. There's a table there that shows how we get to the total current budget figure of 848,000. That's made up of 4 separate budgets that were dedicated towards this project. In short, yeah, we're now facing this shortfall, and the reasons are explained in the report. We're just putting forward one potential solution. We don't have another plan at the moment of how we would make up the shortfall. We have taken steps, though, to try and reduce the overall project costs. Some of that's been through removal of scope, and also the approach that we took to the first stage of the works by contracting it a different way. We made some savings. I think there's a table there in section 7.2 that shows that the steps that have been taken already to try and reduce the budget deficit. So I guess we've been coming at it from just trying to reduce the overall shortfall. And at the moment, as Ish said, the shortfall is just it's indicated at the moment based on some pretty conservative estimates. We really won't know until we go out and test the market through the tender process. We're really hoping that actually there'll be further savings made at that stage. But yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay, we have a series of recommendations here, so which we have to pick one of. So is someone going to move? Councillor McLaren?
So I'll move A, B, E, F, G, please.
Seconder for that? They'll all do it at once. Councillor Bartle? So it's A, approves option 1. Yeah. Well, there's option 2 or option 3, but option 1's been the one that's been moved. So it's seconded by councillor Bartle.
D, you said.
A, B, then E, F and G is what you've moved. Is that correct, councillor?
Yes.
Where's G?
B is
Can't be B.
two, isn't it? If you're gonna have A or B or C.
Yeah, it's
Well, that's what he's moved. He's moved A, B, E, F and G.
I think B and A are mutually exclusive.
There's an issue, sorry, there is an issue with the numbering, lettering by the looks of it. So there's A, receives report number, and there should be B, approves option 1.
That's what we've got in the summary report.
Oh,
so
okay, all right.
So do you want to just, if you want to go back to your summary reports and just check that, that's the one I'm working off. And obviously councillor McLaren is as well, and hope.
I was gonna second that, and then I went, hang on.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Of the document.
are we all on the same page of what it is? Or do you want to just have a moment to make sure you are?
I can clarify my motion.
I'll just wait till we make sure everyone's got the same. Everyone else got that? All right. All good? Okay, councillor McLaren, if you'd like to speak to that.
Nothing really much to say. It's just, it's always nice to hear that there's savings from one project that can be reallocated elsewhere to see the completion of another project. And well done. Appreciate the report and the thinking that's gone behind it. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Bartle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for all you've done on this. I think it is, as said by councillor McLaren, the savings on the transfers, it's always nice to see that can be done. And I think with budgets overlapping and excess money being reallocated, it's certainly the wise way of dealing with it. So thank you for that.
All right. Any further speakers? Councillor Cairns.
Thank you. I attended the one of the Bulldogs opening grounds or opening games the other day, and I couldn't believe as to the level of popularity for this area. And now that we've got St Margaret's, we've got call boat hire and that sort of stuff, it's becoming a very, very busy place to go to, particularly on the weekends. I'm very pleased to see that there's going to be further work being done with the Bulldogs to ensure that their car park is not missed out in terms of the upgrades. But, and I also would just like to highlight the amount of work that ECAN are doing in this area with regard to upgrading their stop banks. And they've just planted Passchendaele trees to start the Passchendaele walkway from connecting the two RSA cenotaphs from Kaiapoi through to Rangiora. So it's going to be quite the location to come and visit and upgrading these facilities, because when you go down there at high tide, it can become quite wet and quite flooded, and it's quite a mess. So it's good that we're actually spending this money from another budget which we've received or had savings. It's going to be money well spent in this particular area and supporting our growing water sports as well as the Bulldogs, which are very, very keen to stay at Murphy Park, and I'll say leave it at that. Thank you.
All right. Further speakers? Right, a reply if you wish, councillor McLaren.
Well, I do just want to note for future discussions.
Well, you didn't get to me. I was looking over it. Sorry, hold on. Oh, sorry. If you grab my attention, I'm happy to give. Would you like to speak? Sorry,
Yep.
councillor McLaren.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, but just briefly, it wasn't that important, but this area has always been a really integral community space for Kaiapoi. Prior to the earthquakes, it also housed a croquet club and a bowling club, of which my mother-in-law was a member once upon a time. It's always been busy, and it's actually good to see it be repurposed for something that's a little bit more fit for purpose, given its semi-amphibious nature these days. So I am happy to see the changes that have happened over time since the earthquakes. It's nice to see some more fit for purpose utilization and activation of this space, and I'm very happy to support these works. I think that boating is, in various guises, is probably a more appropriate use of this area. and all the other users that will no doubt make use of the facilities as well is a bonus in the activation of the space. So I'm really happy to see this area finally getting its just treatment, really. So happy to support.
Okay. Just check there's no further speakers. Right. Councillor McLaren.
I just want to briefly mention that this is a unique space, but it's on the wrong side of the stop bank, so it is vulnerable to the Kaipoi River and flooding and that sort of stuff. So I think this improvement is appropriate at this time, but it is something we will need to keep in mind for any future development of that site. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I'll put the recommendation. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Declare that carried. And I can see where the recommendation and the numbering was out, so understand how that could come to that. In future, just the summary has it's got the actual the recommendations, so that's what I work off. So not necessarily just the report. So just double check that against, right? But it should, in theory, mirror. But
I've learned of community board referrals and things, of course, to look at.
yeah, I understand. Yep. All right. We come to 7.2, the Waimakariri Natural Environment Strategy.
Kia ora. The purpose of this report is to give an update on the last year of implementation of the Natural Environment Strategy. This represents the second year of delivery. And just to highlight that next year will be the third, or this year is the third year of delivery, and we're coming into long-term plan season, and so we will be looking at the actions and making sure that they're still fit for purpose, and that a report will be brought back to council to consider any changes to the implementation plan next year. So the year that has just gone, in the appendix to the report, I outlined all of the actions and the status of them. And it's great to see that we are more advanced than we were in the first year, so the trajectory is going in the right direction. And it's also really useful to highlight that although it's Green Space team who is presenting this report, the whole council, the community, we're all feeding into this strategy together, and so it doesn't just sit with us, it sits with all of us. And so the achievements that we've made are highlighted in all of the 4 pillars of the Natural Environment Strategy, and I've put some examples in the report and in the appendix. I think that's probably enough said, so I'll take the report as read and take any questions.
Thank you. Thanks, Bex. Grant, did you have anything on that? Okay, so any questions? So we come to a series of recommendations. Someone prepared to move? Move Councillor Mealing, seconded by Councillor Fulton. Do you wish to speak?
Just briefly, the Natural Environment Strategy was something that was, oh gosh, I think probably a good couple of years in the making. And it's really exciting to see it up and doing what it was supposed to do. And it's good to see getting the wins on the board that we've got, because this is a really, really important area that we're working on here. And you know, it somewhere in the report, it does make the very good point that these actions are probably one of the single most important things we can do for resilience is within our natural environment. And it benefits the community from every corner. And yeah, I'm just really happy to see the work that's taking place right across the council, integration right through all the council workings. And you know, it matters. And it's really good to see the report coming back with the successes that you've got. Thank you for your work in this, and I'm very happy to support this.
Thank you. Any further, Councillor Fulton, do you wish to say?
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and hopefully there's, to use one of those council phrases, alignment between the portfolio holder and environment and myself and the water services talking to this, because I think it's important that the work that we do here is also explained out to the community, including our drainage advisory groups as well. I think if I reflect on that, my brief time around these groups, there's a tendency to see this sort of thing as sort of another project. In fact, it's absolutely right and amongst what we should be trying to do for our water management, our drainage, our flood waters, our planting programs, and the whole lot. So no doubt you've got that in mind. Just the other point, and it actually relates actually back to the discussion earlier today about the technically about the Rakahuri. I sat on the zone committee last term, and I think one of the first papers I looked at was this massive document called the Rangura Rakahuri Reach Master Plan, and it had all sorts of options and things, strategies, community consultation. That's 2022, and it went precisely nowhere. And so it's not so much a warning, but just a reflection that these things do matter, and the next step is to actually go out there in the community and get cracking on the action points. And you've done that nicely here, so I endorse these recommendations or the adoption of the strategy, and well done on the work. Thank you.
Right. Any further speakers? Rather reply, Councillor Mealings, if you wish.
Actually, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
Just keep up the amazing work.
Right, I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, declare that carried. Thanks, Bex. The next item, 7.3, there has been a few measures raised about this, and it's been decided to lay this on the table, and we'll come back to a future meeting about it. So rather than get into that right now, the reason for that, so thank you for the feedback I've received from elected members, which some elected members passed on to staff. So that'll come back to a future meeting. So thank you. So just leave that on the table at the moment. 7.4 is the review of gambling Class 4 venues. Councillor Goldsworthy did express an interest in being part of this before he departed before. So, Nadisha, thank you.
Good morning. Just before we start, I would like to introduce you to a new member of our strategy and business team. Claire Piper has recently joined us as the new policy and corporate planning team leader, and she'll be supporting Nadisha today.
So what was your name again? Sorry.
Claire Piper.
Oh, Claire. Hello. Welcome to the council.
Thank you.
We look forward. I think you were copied into an email, so now I know who it is. There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nadisha.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report seeks council approval to formally consult on draft gambling policies and appoint a hearing panel. All the changes proposed for the draft policies are minor. I will take the report as take, but would like to highlight that council's role in regulating gambling is limited to managing availability of gambling and location of venues. These policies do not cover online gambling. Once the council approves this report, we expect to undertake the formal public consultation from mid-August to mid-September. A report containing a hearing panel's recommendation will be presented to the council by the end of the year for the adoption of revised gambling policies. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? So, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Fulton.
Thank you for the report. Back in, I think it was 2022, when the last policy was dealt with, we came up with a formula of 1 EGM, electronic gaming machine, per 260 people. You're proposing to express that as so many machines per 10,000 people. by doing that, how often can you review the number of gaming machines in a growing district? If you're looking at multiples of 10,000, that's not going to happen very often. When you're looking at 260 people increments, you can alter the numbers more often. Sorry, that's a question. I'll put a question mark on it.
Yes, I will explain it. We are using per capita cap policy. So 260 machine for, sorry, one machine for 260 adults were decided by previous council. So there is no standard way of deciding this ratio. We have just translate the 260 into a density. This is widely used by other developed countries just to make the administrative process and review process easy and calculations easy.
Well, will there still be scope for an annual review of the numbers where the population hasn't increased by 10,000? Can it be prorated on an annual basis?
It's a very good question, Jimmy. I think what we do is we review it every 3 years when the bylaw is reviewed, and we use the stats number as the basis.
Or census. We are using census because and population estimate doesn't give us exact number of people who age 18 and over. So only census data provide us that information. So policy is needed to review every 3 years.
So what are we currently doing? How often are we reviewing the number of machines under the current policy?
We only review it at the review of the bylaw, I believe, so every 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah. So no, I mean, if I'm opening up a new establishment and want some gaming machines, how often are you telling me how many machines could be available on the population ratio?
So when somebody applies for new machines, it has to go through what was the DIA cert now, and where our process is, we look at what's there, and if the application meets all the criteria, one of them being the criteria, does it fit into the ratio, and yes, there's a supply available, we recommend that supply is available and stamp council's approval that council approves the principle that they can have. They've still got to meet all the criteria of the DIA, so we do that on application.
So how often do we determine the available supply of new machines?
Well, we've always got that supply number because we know exactly what the supply number is now. I can't tell you that off the top of my head.
I think the question is, if I'm hearing it properly, is that we allow one machine every 260 people.
Yes.
Are you going to keep that ratio?
Yeah.
Or are you making it 10,000? So is the ratio based on 260 people?
Yes, same.
Okay.
We will keep the same ratio. Currently, we have 160 machines within the district. We can, with this ratio, within the rules, limits of the policy, we can go up to 197 machines. So when we are getting any application to establish new gambling venue, we just check those numbers. What is the maximum number of machines we can have and what is the current? Based on that, council can make the decision.
Sorry, I'm still not clear how often you review the numbers to work out the available machines.
DIA regularly update those data. We can get the current numbers from the DIA website.
Right. And am I correct in thinking that the $10,000 block can be prorated? So if the population went up 2,000 people, you get a smaller number of machines.
No, it's based on the population of 260 is the way I understand it, and that's the ratio. The 10,000 is just a number that's
Well, it
That's
seemed
equivalent.
the ratio was going to be replaced by a ratio of 38 per 10,000 people.
Yeah.
My question really is that 10,000 broken up so you don't go up in multiples of 38 machines every 3 years or whatever?
Sounds like you'd be good on the panel,
Well,
Mayor, and you can explore this further.
I declare my availability.
Let's take last year, for instance. We had 700 new dwellings, or around about a bit more, and the average person is about 2.4 per dwelling. So 700, we should have then got around about an extra, I don't know, 11 machines. Is that how it's done each annually?
What it might pay to get is a memo back to us to explain it, perhaps, because I can understand where the Deputy Mayor's coming from, and it's a technical question, right? And it would be good to get some clarity back, unless you can answer that now, Billy. But
I can't answer it. Yeah.
so why don't we
to attempt to answer?
why don't we get a memo back that explains that? And I appreciate the Deputy Mayor offering to go on to the panel.
I should disclose I was the chair of the last panel
Right,
three or 4 years ago.
So you do understand.
So I understand.
matter.
Yeah.
Is it Councillor Barshall? Councillor Barshall?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just following on from the information in the chart that's on 289, shows in there in 224 the regional gambling numbers and then the amount granted in allocations to community groups being about 16%. Now, are those stats, they're just for WaiMac, are they representative of nationwide? Is my first question, or are we out of kilter with elsewhere?
Can you please?
So the graph that's there showing stats for just WaiMac only, how do they compare to nationwide numbers? In other words, is the amount being gambled per capita and 16% of it going back into the community, is that a normal ratio? Because it doesn't seem much.
No, it depends on the geographic area. It varies because there are.
The percentage would still, because there'd be more people, more machines, more money, but the percentage is only 16%. It's very
It varies from area to area.
Yeah, that's all for WaiMac though.
It does.
So, and my other question is there any way the council can put in place a requirement for more of that money that is taken from the district through gambling to be respent in the district?
Yeah, our DIA is responsible for making legal framework for this.
They're the only ones that could
Currently, there is no requirement that grants to be made within the community in which where they made. So 16% we have received in 2024. That means the requirement is 40% of gross profit should be granted to the community. That means rest of maybe goes to the other communities.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fulton and followed by Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was reading with interest, it's on 290 about the commentary on snapshot of targeted stakeholder engagement, and you would have read that it says the small number of corporate societies, presumably charitable trusts and like, and Gaming Machine Association New Zealand provided feedback to inform the review. And their position is perhaps slightly self-evident, one might suggest. What other information sources have we had to inform this review? And secondly, if we go to a panel and the submissions again come largely from corporate societies and Gaming Machine New Zealand, how does it pass muster in terms of credibility, in terms of getting the picture of gambling harm and making...
From corporate societies, we consulted all the corporate societies who run gambling machines within the community. Only 3 of them provided feedback on the current policy. They are happy with the current policy. suggested to continue the status quo, and we received a request from Gambling Association asking to make a minor change for the policy, because currently there is a condition in the policy when the council staff receive application for consent, we can publicly notify that application. So as there is no legal requirement to make this application formally notified, there was a request to remove that condition from the policy. That is the only suggestion we received from the...
It's the only feedback you received, yeah, because I noted earlier in the report that there's a mention that there's a low number of people self-reporting harm for their own gambling, but it also says that in a couple of paragraphs later that there's substantial gambling harm in the community, and so I'm very keen. Anyway, that's more commentary about to hear from people who are affected by gambling.
Right, we're getting into, good feedback for debate, Councillor Fulton. Councillor Cairns.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Nadisha. I'm going to follow on from Councillor Bartle with regard to Table 3, with regard to the 16% coming back to the waimakariri. Is there a breakdown of where the balance of the 84% going to, in terms of, are we subsidising the likes of Christchurch in terms of the money? Can you give us a breakdown of where this money is going to?
Those data are not available.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the second question, I note that your data doesn't include the Kaiapoi Club and the Rangiora RSA, which have their own machines, and the profits go back into them. Looking at, like, I would have said that they'd be...
Oxford Club as well.
Currently,
Oxford Club as well,
yeah,
yes.
these data are mostly related to non-club societies. DIA does not collect grant distribution data from club societies.
All right, thank you.
All right, Councillor Powell.
It may be in the report, but I just can't find it. With the number of gambling machines, the ratio, however it's calculated per 10,000 or whatever. So that ratio comes over from the last review, but where did that figure come from?
Yes, as I explained earlier, there is no standard methodology or formula to decide that ratio. Councils have flexibility to decide this based on community views.
Yeah, it's not just the ratio, it's actually just the number of machines.
Yeah, number of machines for adults, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite complicated.
I could answer that later.
Okay. All right, any further questions? So we then, if we don't have a, sorry, did you have a question? Yeah.
Thank you. Just going back to that question about the ratio and the number of machines that we've got, wouldn't we only be looking at that if somebody actually applies to have the machines in their establishment? So at that time, that's whenever we would go, okay, is there some headroom here for a new machine? No, sorry, they're all allocated, go fish. So that's how it works right now? Yeah, I'm seeing heads nodding, yes. Okay.
Yes, you're correct. If somebody applies, we will look at the ratio and how many machines are in place at any one time, see how many machines are left to be able to inform the DIA how many machines they will be allowed if their application was successful, because they can only apply for 9 outside net anywhere. And so if they applied for 9 and there was more than 9 available, then that's quite simple. But if there's less than 9 available, we'd have to tell the DIA that it would go over our ratio and we couldn't accept it.
Yeah, because in your report you say that there hasn't been any significant change in the availability, but since it was last reviewed, but is that because people aren't actually, hospitality providers are not actually asking for these machines anyhow, that there's not a demand for it?
And we've had one inquiry since the last review, and that still hasn't been put into place. We haven't had an official application yet.
So they're not banging down your door asking for gaming machines? Right.
No.
Yeah, thank you. Just wanted to just
Thanks, Nikki. I guess the question is that we probably need to be, just to be clear on, is whether the status quo is changing under this, and that's the bit that I think there's the ambiguity on. So rather than delving into a whole lot of discussion here, because it's going to a hearing panel anyway, if a memo can be produced that gives us some answers to that, and if there's any concern that comes from that, we can potentially review that accordingly. But I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it now, because it's that's a matter you need to just come back and let us know. It's setting out the process for review, which will go to a hearing panel anyway to consider. Question?
I'm prepared to move. Do you want to break into a workshop for the councillors?
Yes, I think I might just do that, which is what I was thinking of doing. But so, noting that you're going to move, is there an indicated seconder, Councillor? I'll let Councillor Doody for a change. Of names, who would be prepared? So I've got Ian's.
Jason.
Yes, I've got Jason. Marshall. Doody. Redmond. And Goldsworthy. Is there anyone else? So there was indicated 3. I've got, there's 5. Is anyone?
I'd just like to say I've actually been on the panel last time when it was 4 years ago.
So you'd like to be on it this time?
Yes, please. But I'll be happy to step back if someone else wants to do it.
No, well, how many can we really go to? Yeah, we've recommended 3. I don't mind if you want 5 of them there, as long as you're all got the time to do it. Up to if the mover is prepared to move all 5, that's fine. Okay, shall we go with that? Right. Unless you want to go through a process of elimination, and I think that would take more than our meeting's time allocated.
Well, indeed, I'm happy to include all 5 who've expressed interest.
So that's Councillor Cairns, Bartle, Doody, Redmond and Goldsworthy. And seconded by Councillor Bartle? Doody, sorry. All right, would you like to speak?
Just briefly, this is something we have to do every certain number of years, and it certainly doesn't seem 4 years since we had the last hearing. It's gone extremely quickly. Councillor Powell asked, how did we come up with the numbers? Back in 2022, we looked at the number of gaming machines that we had in the district, related that to the population and came up with that ratio. It was felt at the time by the panel that that was the sweet spot. It was actually significantly less than the number of gaming machines we could have under a previous policy. So we had competing presenters from both sides of the argument, and we came up with what we thought was a balanced approach with that ratio, which could set the number as the sweet spot, if we say that. But with growth in the district, that number could increase. And interestingly enough, they've actually dropped rather than increased, notwithstanding the rapid population growth we've had in the last 4 years. So it will be interesting, and there are very good submissions made from all parties and the community. So I'm not going to predetermine anything, but it will be a good discussion. So I'm happy to approve the recommendation, and hopefully having 5 elected members won't prove too cumbersome, and we will be able to come up with a recommendation.
Thank you. Having been on the last panel, this was very interesting to listen to the submitters for and against, and it gave you a really good indication of how things are working within our district, and our district is working very well within that group. So I'd just like to say thank you for bringing this forward. It's really important to be able to sit on a panel and review what's happening in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. you. Any further speakers? Then I'll put unless you want to run a reply, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. And as we've talked of, if a memo can come out, that would be appreciated. And to the colleagues, thank you for putting your time forward to undertake what is a really important review, so thank you. All right, we've dealt with 7.5. Next is 7.6. Sarah here today? Just while we're waiting for Sarah, who's interested in coming to Councillor Bartle meetings? It's up in Rotorua, yeah. Anyone else? So there's two that have put their hands forward. But,
I've done a conference on Rotorua, so I'll step back.
Unfortunately, I can't have you all. We can't take you all up here.
No, well, I've said no.
Could I ask a question?
You may. Or just wait. Well, it'll probably be zero answers at the meeting. Hey, Sarah.
Morning. This report relates to a councillor attending the National Local Government NZ Conference. There is just one small update since this report was written. We have had it confirmed that the Mayor's expenses are being totally collected by, paid for and covered by LGNZ. So there's no additional cost for us. It's just the cost of the councillor attending.
And ordinarily, Sarah, we would send to us, the Chief Executive, is that correct?
A mayor and one councillor is what the policy is when it is out of town,
right.
Out of Canterbury.
So if the council, my costs are being covered, could it extend to two councillors to then attend?
Potentially, yes. There is sufficient budget.
Right, but just good to get that clarified. I've had 3 express interests so far. So you had a question?
I wasn't one of the 3 who expressed interest. My question is, under the policy, the Deputy Mayor gets to attend one conference during the triennium. If I don't express interest on this occasion, where does that leave me for the next 2? Or 1 when I'm not Deputy Mayor, but my colleague will be?
It would be for Councillor Mealings to attend as the Deputy Mayor for either of those, the next one, and you may be the councillor.
When's the transition occur? It's about
May next year.
Yeah.
So you have to decide.
So if I don't put my hand up this time, I'm in the bucket to be drawn in future years.
Had a situation where we've had 2 deputy mayors over the term. Technically, you could say a deputy mayor once over the whole term.
Yes, I can understand the policy and the issue here. I just wanted to clarify where that left me if I don't express interest on this occasion.
It would be as a councillor next time around, next year.
All right.
So
thank you.
Can I confirm, do you wish to take up that opportunity? Because it helps try to decide, because 4 don't go into 2.
Okay, well, I'll add my name to the list this time for consideration.
Okay, and then
Question on the dates of May. So that's right across the 14th, right across the 15th, like home that night on the 15th. I mean, I've got some council engagements late on the 15th, so
depends if I can get a flight.
The timetable, there's an event on that evening, so
on the
flying back the next day.
The 16th sort of thing. Yeah, I'll
we have
I'll step back then.
I think it takes the Tuesday.
in Rotorua, there are direct flights one way, but it's two planes.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Way back.
It may be that you have to travel on the Tuesday night, Tuesday
Yeah, I thought
afternoon,
Rotorua is not
and come
good.
back on the Friday, so it takes 4 days.
I'll withdraw then on that basis.
Noting that council meetings, you'll get an opportunity to go another time. Would you be prepared to forego being considered this time round?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. What my interest was hearing Joe Handy speak from the Climate Commission and the women's to it. So
I'm going to test the meeting with two because we could be here all day otherwise. So I'm going to test it with moving Councillor Bartle and Redmond, and on the basis for Councillor Redmond is that he is serving Deputy Mayor and that is the policy. So someone prepared to second? Seconded Councillor Doody. Just on the base, look, it should be a very interesting conference this time round. It's in the lead up to the election, and there will be, they're trying very hard to make sure that all parties are represented there. So not only the speaking list, but also the those who are from the major parties to see where they stand with respect to local government. Also comes at a time when September apparently is when we will hear whether Head Start proposals have got through the first gate, and so it'll also be just an interesting time to be present there. The timing of the conference was moved because, quite intentionally, because of the fuel situation, and that was made a conscious decision. There has also been a lot of work going to organise the conference in Rotorua. My understanding the next is likely to be in Hamilton, is my understanding from present conversations, but we will see where that ends up. So moving those two there, it's no reflection on anyone else, but it's just have to make a call around that. So, and as a new councillor, I think Councillor Bartle would be really good for you to be there. So, all right, I will. Sorry, seconder was Councillor Doody. Did you wish to speak?
I'm just clarifying here, it's got Rotorua from the 4th to the 15th of October.
14th to 15th.
It doesn't say 14 up there, it says 4 to the 15th.
Oh,
Yeah,
in the
okay.
summary agenda it's got
Yeah,
there.
that's fine.
No, good to note though. No, it's not for it's not for an extended period of time. Well, those that wish to travel up there and spend a long time, but you'll be paying for your own accommodation for that length of time.
That's fine. No, I'm happy to support anyways.
Any further speakers? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carries. All right. Thank you, Sarah.
Governments will be in contact to make the arrangements.
Thank you. Now we have the health, safety and wellbeing report.
Yes, thanks very much. I thought it might be an ideal opportunity to introduce you to Katrina and Genevieve. Michaela's not here tonight, but let them give a little bit of an account about themselves, and assuming you receive the report, the staff do the report on my behalf, and I much appreciate that, but I'll let you introduce yourselves and the nature of your jobs.
Morning, Mr. Mayor and Councillors. Thank you for having us. Lucky last. As some of you are aware, I'm Katrina Blake, Health, Safety and Wellbeing Manager for Council, and I've been here just over 9 years now. So yeah, a little bit of time, and I just wanted to take the opportunity today to bring Genevieve Matthews, who is our Health, Safety and Wellbeing Advisor, and heading above the water unit. Been here a little while now, and you might see her from time to time as well. So yeah, this is us. We do have a couple of other people in our team that are not here today as well, coordinator and administrator. So yeah, we're just here to represent the Chief Executive and the Health, Safety and Wellbeing monthly report, so we'll take it as read and answer any questions unless Jen would like to.
Well, welcome on board, and always good to meet our staff, but also thank you for Katrina for the work that you do here as well, which is, I think, we're very lucky in this area of council, so thank you very much for all the extraordinary work that goes on out there to make sure that we're in a safe place and that our health and wellbeing is looked after. So thank you. And acknowledge Sam in the back as well as your general manager.
Yes, I couldn't, I don't take all the credit because I have an extraordinary team that are very passionate about what they do, so thank you.
Thank you. All right, any questions of the report? Councillor Cairns.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Katrina and Genevieve. In terms of, just from an operational point of view, there's so many elements of council, there's so many buildings. How on earth do you collect all this data? Is there a requirement from each department to actually put forward their report each month? How does it work?
So we have a new health, safety and wellbeing system called Assura, and there's been some good education pieces that have gone around the different business units and our staff on how to use that. They can use it on their mobile app. There's various different ways in which they can reach out to us and adhere to everything that they have to from a health, safety and wellbeing perspective in terms of checklists, audits, risk assessments, if there's an incident they can log it, if they're out in the field or on the PCs, logging hazards, risks, anything to do with our health safety management system and from a wellbeing perspective as well. So they can use that, but they can also communicate with us in person. We do tend to get around to different business units when we can, to different meetings, and also it's encouraged with those teams that they actually have a health, safety and wellbeing section within their daily, weekly, toolbox, monthly meetings, and of course our health, safety and wellbeing committee with our representatives.
Thank you. Thank you for a good answer. In terms of the contractors, do they also have access to the app as well to report back to council with regard to any near misses and that sort of thing as well? Or are they separate, i.e. Delta and any other contractors that we use?
So they don't have access to ours. We don't have a licence for them to use the Assura app. However, they do have to adhere to our responsibilities in terms of incidents and near misses and anything like that are on anything to do with our contracts. So it generally comes up if they have an incident on site, it's reported through that contract manager, who immediately notify us and it comes through Assura and we deal with it in that way. Also, we have an expectation that they come to us with their incident investigation through the contractor as well. So we meet in the middle.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Councillor Mealings?
Thank you. Just regarding the elevator incident, it says that investigations are still underway, so so we haven't established what caused that yet?
Do you want to talk about this one?
Sorry, I missed which incident it
was.
was.
When the person was stuck in the lift.
Ah, yes. So the interim conclusion is that when the library side of the lift is locked out in the evenings, it automatic. What it does, if someone presses the library controls, the lift doesn't respond. So the lights are automatically dimmed to save electricity. So it seems to be confusing instructions within the lift. So we're looking at options for further information for briefing at beginnings of meetings and potentially covering up those library side controls after hours.
This person was coming from the top floor down to the ground floor after an open, so the library side controls are in there, and they use a walker. So
yes, no, I understood that.
Right.
So there's two sets of controls within the lift. There's one
Okay.
to open the library side and there's one to open the foyer side within the same lift.
Can we have the library, can it be investigated as part of it, activated so that someone can use it, because we do have public meetings there at night.
Yes,
so I discovered the individual in there, so.
And I sadly didn't
at
pick up
the
the phone.
time, so it was, and was very distressed and still is, because he spoke to me the other day about it, so.
It's not the first time it's happened. It's taken a little bit of investigative work to figure out why it was happening. That's what we've identified in terms of that being the lights being dimmed and the cost saving with the power and everything being switched off. It is affecting the usage of the lift if you're coming from upstairs. So that's why it's still under investigation, because we're waiting to find out how we can either, if there's a meeting, get a notification sent out to say don't switch anything off from the library side, or we have to be able to use the lift. If
The power use is minimal, really, right?
Yeah.
So,
the fact that it's stopped.
getting it to circumvent that, to me, seems
That's
logical,
right.
if you can do that. I think that would answer that point out for that individual who still feels he hasn't been answered in his opinion. So if you could get that to the lift operator and resolve that, I think that would answer the point for future.
Sure.
Yes, no, investigations are still ongoing to how we can solve the issue, and I do recognise that must have been a traumatising situation for that individual.
Thank you.
Anything further?
Yeah, I think that's probably it. I don't know if the lift, if it's a matter of reprogramming it, if it can be, or if it's just don't use controls or whatever, but I'm sure you'll find that out in your investigations. So, but yeah, we don't really want that happening again, especially if it has happened in the past and we still hadn't figured out why. So thank you for your investigation into that.
Great, thank you. Anything further?
Thank you. Just carrying on from Councillor Mealings, the concerning point you've made is that it's happened before and nothing's been done to address it.
So I haven't to the cleaners, but it's been a matter of fault finding to figure out why. And it's only just really come to light that that's why it was happening, because it has been tested in terms of its functionality. So it was just a matter of fault finding to figure out why it had been happening.
Do we know over what period?
And it was pretty close proximity between the cleaners and they just called their colleague to let them know that it had happened, and then the other incident that had just happened. So I believe it ended up being Jen that figured it out. Duncan. It's just relaying that back and getting them to have that communication around when there's meetings and things like that on. So, yeah.
I guess we're noting our concern here, so we would like it resolved. So obviously, when we're holding public meetings, perhaps our CE can pick up on that and work with the staff on what the resolution looks like. We don't need to get into sorting that here, but suffice it to say there's been investigation. It's about getting the resolution out. Right. Okay. Any further questions? Well, then there's a series of recommendations there. Some appear to move. Councillor McLaren seconded. Councillor Mealings, do you wish to speak?
No, just thank you not only for the report but for the work that you're doing that leads to the report and responding to my questions. Just a quick look at my LinkedIn profile to see that I've had significant involvement in this space over several decades, and I'm very confident that as officers under the Health and Safety at Work Act required to exercise our due diligence, that this process is appropriate and gives us that assurance that you're managing things very well. So thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Councillor Mealings?
Just again, thank you for your work. Thank you for the report. It's good to know as governors that we are actually complying as PCBUs, which is very, very important, and we want to make sure that all the people out there are safe under our watch. And looking at this report, that is the case at this moment. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Do you wish to exercise a right of reply, councillor McLaren? I take that as a no. So I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we have now item 9, which is committee minutes for information. Someone prepared to move that. Councillor Manning, seconded by Councillor Barshall. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, declare that carries. Item 10, which is community board minutes for information. Councillor McLaren's going to move, seconded by Councillor Barshall. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that carried. We'll come back to council portfolio updates. I have no questions under standing orders, no urgent general business. We now come to matters to be considered with the public excluded. Some prepared to move for the reasons set out. Councillor Ken, seconded Councillor Barshall. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, declare that